Now, it's taken an absolute load of work to get here, from flattening the space to being able to set everything, and the truth is I did very, very little of the actual work. I know myself well enough that when I make mistakes, I obsess over them and I stare at them all the time. So I had one of my good buddies come out here who knew way more about like physical construction like this to be able to set this thing up, and it is absolutely perfect. This is a garden, so it is going to evolve over the years, including a ton of vining projects that we have. And if you can think of anything else that we can add into our garden, just please let us know, because the structure of this is really well suited to be able to design it the way that makes most sense for you. For us, it is 72 by 36, meaning that we have 18 of these individual 12 by 12 grids. You could easily put a deck in one of these 12 by 12 squares and then turn it into an area for a hot tub. And maybe next year I'll actually be able to grow a pumpkin, because these freaking squash beetles every year are defeating me. If anybody knows how to get rid of squash beetles, let me know in the comments down below. For over a year, I obsessively planned out every single aspect of this garden, to all of the shade cloth that is above me right here, to the 12 by 12 sections that house different areas of the garden for its different purposes, even down to the fact that we have water and electrical run throughout the entirety of this. And I still have an absolute load to do, like figuring out exactly where everything needs to go, adding in irrigation, and then hopefully even turning one of the 12 by 12 sections into a greenhouse. But as it is a garden, that is going to take years and years and years. All of that being said, we do have some fun things in the garden, and I've been putting in a few 3D carves. I've always envisioned a very massive 12-foot long alligator right here swimming through all of this gravel. When asking my wife about kind of her dream list for my garden, this moon gate was one of the things that she wanted. She sent me a listing online, which ended up being like $1,200 or $1,600 for a circular piece of metal. Absolutely nuts. So I had a local fabricator create this large metal structure. Right here, though, is kind of an issue. We have all of this grass, a lot of it needs to be dealt with, and right here I want to create this really intricate pathway that's going to be completely made out of concrete. Right there, you can see all of the concrete that I have sitting, waiting for the task. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I actually can succeed in this. So that's why we're going through the foam process today, using it to create a 3D mold so that later I can come back and use foam to be able to create the blocks. We can create them in stone structure. We could even make an entire poem, because with the CNC machine, we can cut out whatever shapes we want, fill them in with concrete, and that will be our pathway into the garden right here. So today's entire video is really a proof of concept, which will lead us back here on a later day. Up until now, I've cut out this prancing pony sign right here, the green dragon, as well as this national park sign, all out of wood. And wood is something that I think is very well suited out here, especially with the wide variety of stains and stuff that's actually meant to be outdoors. But in order to do that, you have to have a CNC machine. My buddy Kyle over at Learn Your CNC actually just introduced the CNCHub.com, where anybody can go over, write in their budget, exactly what they're looking for, and it'll show you all of the available options of different CNC machines on the market today to be able to suit your needs the best way possible. The best part is, it is completely free. But let's jump into the concrete portion of this build. P.S. If you're actually looking to make a little mud sink for your kid, this is a fish fillet station. I just threw this together. You hook it up to a hose, hours of fun. This is probably blindingly bright to y'all. So I took 2-inch regular old construction foam from Lowe's, and I went ahead and cut out the back, the head, and the tail for our massive alligator. This is based on like the classic design of the 3-piece alligator, which normally you can find that are like 2 feet long, but I wanted to make one massive, and I also wanted to make it thin enough where we could sink it down into the gravel. It wouldn't be an obstruction, but it would be a fun part that somebody would really have to look for. Actually, if people have been out here before, you might not have even noticed all of the ants that I have crawling around here. I had them laser cut from Send Cut Send, and now they're completely covering all parts of the garden, and I will continue to make their ant line longer and longer. So in order to get here, I took it over to the Alt Mill CNC. I put on my O-Flute Upcut Jenny, and then I took away a ton of the material. The unfortunate part is sometimes you can have the file completely ready to go, and you'll still run into issues. So I ended up running the 3D toolpath, which took 9 hours. It was the very first time in my life that I ended up leaving the shop completely, and I went and took my daughter to ballet class. And then when I came back, it was still going, and it ran until about 9 o'clock at night, and we did get some really, really great patterns on the back and the tail, but the head has some areas that I'm really concerned about. I guess we'll see what happens after we pour it. Some of y'all might be saying, Hamilton, the concrete is going to stick in this mold pretty bad, and in order to make this as budget and cost effective as possible, I'm just going to be using Pam cooking spray. I'm going to spray all of these, I'm going to pour all the concrete in, and then hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to take the concrete out of the molds and see what it looks like. Quick overview of the mud mixer. You can either buy these or rent these. but it operates very simply. All you need is power and water, and everything kind of works together in its own little system. Also, I've heard that it's incredibly easy to clean. We'll find out today. It's got a switch up here. You can go in forward, or you can go in reverse in case there's any kind of jams. When you hit forward, it actually does turn on the water for you. This also has a dial where you can control the amount of water that's going into your concrete mixture with the auger to make sure that it is mixing it to your satisfaction. Obviously, that depends on water pressure, elevation, a ton of different things, including even the brand of concrete that you're using. Today we're just using regular high-strength concrete. I was thinking about getting quickset, but truth be told, since this is my first time, I really didn't want to run into any type of issue with the quickset concrete doing all of this by myself. This is specifically meant for like a one-man operation for people who are pouring small pads or pouring them in remote locations, things like that. So for me, this is a great test for the bigger project that I have going on later. The top is really cool right here. It's got this blade. You take a bag, you break the bag open, it feeds down into the hopper, and then it goes out the side. Afterwards, since it already has water hooked up to it, you can just move this dial over, and then it already has a hose built in. So you can use this while you're working or also to be able to clean off the unit. Today we're going to be pouring directly into 5-gallon buckets and then pouring it into here. I've got 4 bags of 60-pound concrete, which I only think I'm going to need 2, but hey, always better to have more than less. Let's see how this thing works. Well, I'm definitely going to use quickset next time. As you can see right here, that's the head. The head stayed together beautifully. Everything about it, awesome. Then I put it down and I was kind of like trying to bury it into the gravel, and yeah, I sprayed it and we now have a little bit of the slickness gone that did look so very good. Now onto the back. The back did unfortunately break in the mold. This morning I came out and I thought that everything would have been perfectly fine. I started shifting around the foam a little bit, frayed up, and then crack. And then the one that I was almost certain was going to crack is the tail, and we've cracked it in 3 different places. So for all intents and purposes, we've had a little bit of a failure. Now overall this is 10 feet long and I'm very excited about how it actually turned out and how it looks in the gravel, but like I said, it is a little bit broken. Now if you know a lot more about concrete than I do, please let me know down in the comments if I should have used a different type of like reinforcement, or I've maybe even thought about putting in some like lawn staples into the form so that there's metal in there to kind of hold it together. But obviously if I would have left it sit for another day or 2, I do believe that we wouldn't have had these cracks. And the really nice part about this gravel is too, it's really easy to make like a nice stable area for it to kind of sit, so it has a nice cushion as you're walking on it, and it's going to settle in beautifully. The form can be used again. I was not expecting that at all. It was fairly easy to actually get it out of this. This is 2-inch thick foam, and for the most part I think I could immediately pour into it again. And by immediate, I mean immediate. With that mud mixer, I genuinely think that if you have 20 minutes on your hand, you could fill this up with concrete and then have that thing clean and then back in the shop before you know it. I've actually been looking around for other stuff now that I've seen how truly easy it is, and it keeps you busy. You gotta keep going back and forth to different things, but it is constantly working, and the cleanup was absolutely easy. Now, as I'm sure you've been able to tell, I am no concrete expert, but I will say that I did mix concrete by hand in 9 different countries, and I'm ecstatic to have the mud mixer. Even if you're going out and renting it for a single day, I do believe that it is by far the easiest way to be able to mix concrete, especially if you're just one person looking to be able to do a single job like this, or pouring a pad for like a grill or something like that. Oh my gosh, it is so much easier. I did get a little bit excited and demold this a little bit too early, but hey, we've got a swimming alligator in the garden right now, and I think that's pretty cool. And heck, I might even go for round number 2 and make sure that we don't crack things this time. We've got these files available. Hopefully you'll find them useful. I genuinely do believe from the bottom of my heart that if you were going to go to a market and sell these as 10-foot long alligators for gardens, you would sell them so fast. There's absolutely nothing like this to this scale that anybody can just go and pick up. And they are fairly light. This was around 100 pounds of concrete that was used to be able to make this, especially in this form factor with a 4x4 piece of foam. And I will say that they're very manageable as single pieces, and if you let them cure properly, they'll stay single pieces. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. See y'all later. Bye.